But there was a moment in Rory McIlroy's press conference on Wednesday where he served a reminder of why it's so important to get him in front of a microphone and to get his thoughts on things. Because Adam Stanley, our friend of the podcast, great Canadian golf writer, asked him, what are you chasing at this point? You just accomplished the career Grand Slam. What are you chasing at this point? And Rory's response was, I don't know that I'm chasing anything. And in fact, having a couple weeks off after the PGA Championship, I found it a little bit tougher to grind on the range for 3 or 4 hours because you just had this significant event in your life, something that you have been dedicating your entire life to achieving with the career Grand Slam. It's a little bit hard to find the motivation to get back on the horse and go again. That is a phenomenal quote. That is phenomenal insight. That really lets us know what Rory McIlroy is feeling at this point in time on June 4th with 2 major championships to go, with the Ryder Cup on deck a couple of months after that. There is so much yet to play for this PGA Tour season, and he is admitting publicly that it's really difficult for him right now to find some level of motivation. That's terrific, and you would only get that if Rory McIlroy is in front of the microphone. That's why I think he's such a crucial figure for the PGA Tour. That's why I think this conversation is worth having, because if you don't have that, I think we're poorer as golf media. We're poorer as golf observers. Golf fans don't quite understand these players as well. It makes them more human, and I think that's why we're tuning in the first place.
I don't know that there's been an athlete, at least since I've covered the PGA Tour, who is as honest when it comes to what's going on in his life, what's going on in his own head, as Rory McIlroy, sometimes to his detriment. Sometimes he has admitted in the past that maybe I need to keep some things to myself. I guess Jordan Spieth would be a very close second, because both of them seem just as if they're shot full of sodium pentothal every time you put a microphone in front of them. And that's a good thing for us. We like to do storytelling. To that point, that was a phenomenal answer, because the entire narrative ever since he won on that glorious Sunday at Augusta National is what's next. What do you really do when you get to the top of the mountain? I don't anticipate Rory McIlroy following David Duval's lead, where David Duval got the #1 in the world, won the Open Championship, won his first major, and realized, that was a lot of work for nothing. I don't imagine that that's going to be the case with Rory, but a hangover, that's not only expected, I think it was obvious that there was going to be a few weeks afterwards where you're going to struggle a little bit. It'll be telling by the time we get to the end of the season. It's not going to happen after the U.S. Open or the Open Championship or even the Ryder Cup. But as we start to have these conversations in December, and if the hangover has lasted, then I think it is an interesting conversation. That what happens when you get to the top of the mountain professionally? I now know what that feels like. And I got to tell you, it's difficult for me to come to work sometimes.
I mean, I remember the hangover that I had.
Sure. Yeah, right there.
The rest of 2020.
Mine's going to go right here.
That's a great spot for it, just outside the view of the camera.